this is Guitarist Denis Taaffe, and it's July 4th. Happy 4th of July. And I'm in my home studio, and today I'd like to look at the making of my 317th album called Modern Rock Guitar Vol.317 Audio Generator. Okay, and for those who aren't familiar with my music, I'm an instrumental guitarist, and I play solo with guitar and guitar loops done on the fly. And that basically means that as I'm playing with pedal boards, I record a little part of what I'm playing and start to loop that, and then I find layers to put on top of it. Okay, and all my music is improvised on the spot. So really what you hear is exactly what's coming out of my guitar amplifiers. I basically have two microphones. I don't add any overdubs afterwards. Now doing it that way, it's very easy, to hit wrong notes, and let's face it, some tracks work better than others, But that's the fun of it, I guess, is it really challenges you musically to take chances. And sometimes you fall on your face, and other times it's brilliant. So it just depends, I guess. But definitely each album leads me in a different musical direction, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm always surprised at the results, And I should tell you that from album 0, or actually album 1 was my debut album, Modern Rock Guitar Vol.1, and that was done in 1999. And that particular album was a conventional album. In other words, I worked everything out ahead of time. I'd record one track of, let's say, guitar, rewind it, put on the bass, rewind it, add the drums, and so on and so on. Then from there, I discovered looping. I got some looping pedal boards and so on. And so album 2 to 200 are what I consider rock albums. From 200 to 317 are more what I call contemporary instrumental, new age instrumental rock guitar, basically film music, or just music that I like. I was doing a lot of solos and things. Sounded pretty much like most guitarists, unfortunately. And then I really asked myself, well, is it really musical? And I got an amplifier, kind of changed my style, And as a result, I'm very pleased with it because, especially as I'm getting older, this kind of music works very well for me. And I find it much more musical. And when you free yourself of, competing with others, and that kind of thing, it really frees you up musically. Okay, by the way, let's talk about the album cover real quick. Not much to it. It's a very nice cover made by someone else. And basically I added a little light to it. And put myself in the road, holding a guitar. And hopefully when people will see it, they'll realize that it's a guitar album. And this is one of my pet peeves of when I was younger. And I was looking for guitar albums, and for example, there was an album, and it was called Al Di Meola, Elegant Gypsy. Now, how in the world can I know that that's a guitar album, you know? So here it's pretty much in your face, you know? Can't really miss it. And that was the idea. I do like the look of it, though, very much so. However, it would be terribly wrong of me to take the credit for it. You know, these are pictures done by incredibly gifted artists who are kind enough to put them out there free for commercial use. You know, so that's what I did, and that's how I came up with that. Okay, well, with that being said, let's take a look at it. By the way, I should have you know, I'm a struggling artist, right? And I'm struggling right now for my fans. Okay, no, what I really mean is I turned off the air conditioner. So let's get this video over with so I can turn it back on, because it's damn hot in here. But I thought, you know, when I turn on the air conditioner, there's this constant hum, even picked up by the camera, you know. I wasn't looking for the greatest audio to do these. You know, these are more kind of memories for me, too. I can look back and say, oh, this is why I did this, or that kind of thing. So I'll be glad to have these in the future. But to try to get a better audio quality, I turned off the air conditioner. Probably a bad idea, because it is hot. Alright, well anyway, let's get started. Very first track is called Audio Generator. And this is a full-length album, the 317th album. But it's only got 7 tracks. And we've got 2 8-minute tracks, 1 11-minute track, 1 12-minute track. So these are long tracks, you know. These aren't little short, you know, 2 3-minute pop songs, you know, where you can shake your booty. It's not that kind of thing. In fact, when I recorded these, and music that I like, I always envision that it's for a film, you know, for a scene in a film, if you like, or creates a certain atmosphere, a mood, you know, for a scene, that kind of thing. Alright, so let's take a listen to it. We're going to go through it track by track. And this one is called Audio Generator. And it's 8 minutes and 23 seconds, so that's a pretty long track. Let's take a listen to that. And here we go. We'll start that again. Here we go. Okay. Now there's definitely that Yamaha RS320 guitar and a Fender Deluxe Reverb mixed with an Albion amp. And there's a H9 Eventide delay. It's super clean guitar. And I should tell you that the Albion is a hybrid amp, half solid state, half tube. And the Fender Deluxe Reverb is all tube. So here there's no looping going on. It's just playing different chord voicings as cleanly as I can. So there's obviously the theme of the track. There comes the bass, right? And the bass I emulate on guitar. It's not real bass. I just drop the guitar sound an octave and loop it. So here I'm coming up with it. It's usually played on 2, maybe 3 strings of the guitar. But it sounds like a bass, at least to me. fast forward that to the 5-minute 7-second mark. So here, the theme is still going, but now I've added this pattern playing on top of it. Guitar fill right there. Now, these are basically ideas, musical ideas that you think of as you're hearing what's playing. You're trying to find ideas on the guitar, and the fun of that is it's got to be real quick, because you don't have a second chance to rewind it, practice the part and then play it back with a perfect sound, that kind of thing. It's all improvised, so it's real fast. It's almost like doing multi-track recording live, kind of. And this one worked out really well. Now, I did notice on this album, as you layer ideas, there's more and more information going into the amplifier. And that can overload the amplifier, or the speaker, and you'll end up with some distortion. So I had to be real careful of that. And I notice here, I'm pushing it to the maximum because of the number of ideas, the number of layers. It's not just 1 or 2 layers. When you start getting, 7, 8 layers, it's real hard. And it's also real hard to when you get that many layers, to make it sound like a, where everything's organized, as if it was a structured track, and so that's just not a big mess of loops going everywhere, unless that's what you're going for. But most of the time, you want to try to keep it as organized as possible. All right, well, real quick, we'll listen to the outro. Here I'm kind of just using a strange guitar sound and soloing over it. I've pretty much not run out of ideas, but pretty much I get the idea. So there's no point in adding more. Man, it is hot in here. And I'll tell you what. So don't let them ever say that I don't suffer for my art. No, it's not that bad. But yeah, it is getting there. It's pretty hot. Okay, now let's move on to track 2. Track 2 is called Sound Barrier, but in reality, it's also had titles like Dizzy, and it's basically a track for a horror film, really, is what I was thinking. Excuse me. And part of that, I've talked about it before, this Eventide H9 effects pedal. They have different algorithms, and one of them makes it sound kind of like, makes your guitar kind of sound like a keyboard, though it's very primitive. And so I tried to use one of those, and I thought, well, what if I had a repeating pattern, and that would create the rhythm and then play over that. So let's see how that turned out. And you can hear it right away, as far as I remember. This is 11 minutes long, so it's quite a long track with a bunch of different ideas. So here's that Eventide H9 track. Sounds like a guitar, or sounds like a keyboard, sorry. And I'm playing two notes alternating, you know, right? Then going on, moving up an octave. You know, they're playing octaves. And that gives you that wham, 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 wham. And now I'm looping that, and I'll be adding to that. But that's how I created the basis for this, was on the guitar using that Eventide H9 pedal. And it's kind of menacing, you know, that little ran. Yeah. Think of like a film like Halloween or something like that. Or some kind of horror film like that. And here I had a challenge of I wanted to add some bass guitar, but this alternating rhythm was kind of taking care of that. So I was trying to figure out what I could do differently. So here I'm coming up with ideas, and it's more challenging for me to add guitar to non-guitar sounding loops, you know. So I'm hearing that and I'm going, boy, what would work well with that? So here I've actually added, if you listen closely, I did add a bass guitar track. You know, it's very, very primitive. It's kind of like a half step. It's an F sharp, G, 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 F sharp, F sharp. You know, something similar to that. Alright, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's go to the 5-minute, 10-second mark. Halfway point. Okay. Now here, I've added just standard guitar, where I'm doing double stops, and also repeating patterns, if you listen. So I've got several layers of guitar there. And you can tell it's a lot louder, so it's kind of overtaking the little, you know, repeating pattern there. Yeah, and from there it was just idea after idea, you know. And I like it very much because it ended up flowing really well, you know. It wasn't you know, block ideas. It flowed together very well. Alright, let's fast forward a little bit. 8-minute, 15-second mark. Now, notice one of the layers of guitar right there, right here, right there. And I really like that because, so I have several layers of guitar, one playing the, you know, the then I have one playing just on guitar, repeating pattern there. And then on top of that, one playing double stops. And then a third one. And what I really like about this one is that repeating pattern and the double stops are done using conventional guitar. The third one, though, has a huge reverb. Okay, and as a result, it gives it a lot of depth, right? So it sounds like it's, you know, way in the background unless I play it really, really loud. You know, if you'll notice here, we'll go ahead and take a listen to that, and you'll see the difference between all the different layers of guitar. And then that third one has that reverb, huge reverb. You know. There's a normal pattern playing. Well, let's go back and listen to that a little bit more. Where was that? I think right here. Yeah, right here. That's when I'm playing real loud, so it sounds like it's coming up forward, but normally it's in depth in the background, kind of a haunting guitar sound. Can you see that in a horror movie? No! Anyway, that's what I thought of when I was doing that track. Alright, now here's a third one. And this was actually originally called 4. And it actually was one 9-minute track, but I got it cut down to 2 tracks of one of 6 minutes and one of 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And plain and simple, I kind of made a glitchy note, and it sounded like the whole thing. Let's say the track was like a railroad car on a track, and when it hits that wrong note, it sounds like the whole thing goes off the track. So that's why I cut it. So it's actually track 3, and comes back. The theme comes back in track 6. All right, but for the album, it's called Magnetic Induction, Part 1. You know, and yeah, Magnetic Induction. You know, I looked up audio generator and found some really interesting things about it. And one of them is done by magnetic induction. Okay, so let's take a listen to that. I don't remember how that is exactly. I think it's pretty cool as I remember. I think it's a lot of repeating patterns. And how wrong I am. Shows what I know. Okay. This is again that Eventide hot sauce thing that makes it sound like a keyboard. And remember I said it's real primitive. So I can do little single note melodies, but it doesn't do chords and things. So here I've got that, and then a bass, the emulated bass on guitar where I drop it an octave and loop it. And the two together give me this this mood, this atmosphere, very much like you'd hear in a horror movie. And when I say a horror movie, I mean more of a maybe a psychological thriller or a you know, drama type movie. I don't mean, you know, a blood and guts gore fest. Okay, and here of course I've added the guitar. You know, standard guitar, and those are double stops, chord voicings. Cool. I just love this kind of atmosphere. It's really nice. And certainly, for me, this is what I'd want to hear in a film. Kind of like, you know, in Terminator 2, you know, after all the violence and things, I always play this kind of real moody music, so I always thought it'd be good for that. Alright, let's fast forward it to 3 337. Ah, what was that? Okay. No, 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 no. Man, is that Chevy Chase from Caddyshack? Right? Remember when he was hitting the golf? And he go, no, 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 no. Okay. Well, what this sound is, that is, again, the Eventide hot sauce algorithm. But it's another preset. You know, I've only gone through a tiny bit of what's possible. But I've taken my time with it, you know, and learned each one, learned how to use each one. So this is a new sound, really. I've used it a little tiny bit. And it's the one that when you hit it, it repeats. And it goes... So here I've accented the beats. You can hear it here. Right there. And notice that it's synced in time. And behind it are the repeating pattern, delay patterns. It's just adding a guitar fill. Very cool, I think. I love this stuff. Okay, now if you listen closely to the guitar part, the clean guitar part, and it's playing these kind of they're not quite chords, they're not quite arpeggios. They're kind of like arpeggios, but you let them ring. Okay? And this becomes a theme later on in track 6. But here you can hear how it builds and develops right here. It's kind of hard to hear because it's real big. There you might have heard what sounds maybe like a wrong note, but it's not actually a wrong note, but it is probably not the best note to start on a pattern. It's part of a pattern, but I probably shouldn't have started on that note. Anyway, so I really like these tracks this far. Okay, this fourth one called Power Outage, and it used to be called Goat. Whoa, man, I'm starting to perspire. Man, I've never seen an artist suffer so much. Okay. Alright, anyway. This track is really long, 12 minutes, 13 seconds. And I can also say I don't remember anything about it. So I'm going to listen just like you, and maybe that'll jog my memory. Okay, here we go. Okay. Cool. Chord voicings. Yeah. It's on the Yamaha guitar. It has those 10s string size, so they're really big. And they're just a lead over the chord voicings. And I really like this because, let me tell you something. When I used to, on albums 1 through 200, I used to have a big rack, stuff. And as a result, my guitar setup was so noisy. You'd hear guitar amp noise and all those noises, that I could never play like this kind of real subtle clean guitar stuff. And now that I'm using amps, they're pretty clean. I can do this kind of thing. It does cause other problems, such as chair squeaks, and you can hear me, if I cough or if I hit some of the pedals, you can hear the clicks and things. So I try to be, conscious of that. Anyway, let's see what I'm building up here. Obviously a theme of some sort. I do like the chord voicings there. And a fancy guitar solo. Though it's clean guitar. Gilmore from Pink Floyd. What's he doing on my album? Okay. Kind of sounds like that. Alright. Alright, David Gilmour Jr. Let's move it. Very cool mood atmosphere. 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Let's see what we get. Okay, now we're at 5 minutes, 30 seconds. There's that awesome pattern playing. And this is probably the best pattern playing sound I've gotten. It's real clean, real precise, super synced in time. Everything's synced to MIDI, keeping that time. I think on this one it's 120 beats per second, or per minute. 120 beats per minute, not second. That'd be more like a super fast heartbeat. So there I'm layering a lot of guitar parts. Kind of hamming it up. Some harmonics. Cool. Yeah, and that guitar is putting out so much output that I'm really pressing it as far as the, how much is going into that amplifier. I'm really pushing the limits of it. I wonder if going down to 9s might help that a little bit. Anyway, we'll see about that in the future. Okay, remember it's 12 minutes long, so let's go to the 8 minute 48 second mark. So there you've got all kinds of layered guitar, the pattern playing, the chord voicings, the original chord voicings below that. There's the theme. Yeah, those are those chord voicings, and they're kind of difficult to play. If you get one wrong, and especially when you're switching keys and things. These are chord voicings I've learned recently, and I learned them in one key. But, just like any other chord, you have to learn them in different keys. And that changes the fretting and where they get played and stuff. So I always take a big chance when I add those. I always figure, it's the end of the track, I might as well try. And in this case, it worked out fine. But I'm sure there are cases where I've hit chord voicing and it sounds terrible because it's in the wrong key because I didn't hit the fingering right or what have you. But that's part of it, and this is the fun. the enjoyment of it. You know, when you can improvise like that, and you decide which direction you want to take it in, you know. It's not like okay, well now here we got to play the verse, and now we got to play the chorus, you know, and it goes this way, and you can't do anything about it. Here, it's really up to you. And it all depends on what you're hearing. That one. Okay. Anyway, let's see. By the way, it's pretty cool. I have the lights out in the room, and the only lights are coming from the computer monitors. And this camera is known to do well in low light, so I'm pretty impressed with that, with no extra lighting, you know. Pretty nice. Okay, number 5 is called Exciter. Sounds like a speed metal, you know, track, but I don't think it is, I'm afraid. And this one used to be called New Hay. Okay. When I record these, you know, I usually give them silly names, and then later on name them properly for the albums. Okay. Let's go on. Okay, this is New Hay. Eventually was called Exciter. A pretty short track. It's 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Let's hear that. Oh yeah. Now what I like about this track is that it's very abstract, and you know, during the summer here we have fireflies outside, you know, so they light up all over, kind of randomly it looks like. And this is kind of not really what I was thinking there, but what it reminded me of. At first you're going, well, gosh, what is that, you know? But then start listening to the bass, and it's actually putting down the theme of the track, you know? So it starts out very randomly, kind of like those fireflies. All right, let's go to 3 minutes, 7 second mark. Added the Yamaha guitar clean sound over it. It's almost too big, really. This would be very good for a, you know, romantic comedy dream sequence. Or some drama, or what have you, you know. Maybe someone walking along the beach, or, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. Pretty cool track. Yeah, it really reminds me of those fireflies. So kind of an abstract track there. I like it, though. Okay, now track 6 is a continuation of track 3. And I don't know if you'll recall, but I told you that there was a guitar part there that was building, and you don't notice it at first, but if you listen very closely, there's a layer of guitar there, and it sounds like arpeggios, but I let them ring out. A very common technique used by Andy Summers of the Police, Alex Lifeson of Rush, that kind of thing. And you'll hear it here too. This, see if I can point it out. Yeah, this. Now there I played some chord voicings. Double stops and those chord voicings. They're little triad chord voicings, but on high strings. Okay, let's fast forward that. See if we can hear that guitar. We're at the 2 minute 38-second mark. There's a pattern playing, similar to the other track. Now, what you may not notice here is that I turned off some of the layers, you know, so especially some of the repeating pattern layers. Instead of letting everything play at once and become this huge thing, I spaced it out more, and I think this is something I have to develop more, you know, and that's probably the key. I'm thinking, you know, if you have, you know, 11 layers, right, of guitar loops, and they're all doing different things, it can be quite overwhelming, and you don't want that all the time. So maybe cutting back on a few, you know, and bringing them in and out as needed. Something for me to work on, I guess. Alright, we're at the 3-minute 7 mark, and the whole track is 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so it's almost over. This is the ending. There's that guitar part. And there are those chord voicings. Yeah, and those are something I've been working on, you know, and they're real unusual fingerings I've never used before, you know, and they're quite challenging, you know, because some of them have big stretches from string to string, you know, and you're also skipping strings, you know. It's pretty neat sound. Alright, finally, and just in time because I am perspiring in here, let's go to the very last track, and it's called Induction. And it used to be called New Car. Okay, 8 minutes and 45 seconds. And I think this really rounded out the album. You know, I didn't want to end it on this, you know, horror track, you know, which was the track 6. So here's track 7. Let's take a listen to that. And from what I remember, it's kind of a happier track because of the pattern playing sets up the rhythm. And here it is right here. Yeah, and the way I came up with that is I first started playing that little melody, that little keyboard melody, and then came up with a rhythm beneath it. And here's the pattern playing. And I really love this particular sound of the pattern playing. And when I say pattern playing, it's a pattern that I'm playing on a guitar with delay, right? A repetitive pattern. forward a bit because it's such a long track. To the 6-minute 33-second mark. So there, I'm trying out some different kind of keyboard lines. And there's some layers going backwards. Those are chord voicings. Okay. And anyway, that's it. That's the end of the album, volume 317. And I really like this album. I think it's I know it sounds cliched to say, well, it's well balanced. But I think in this case, it really is well balanced, because you have, some of the horror track type film music, balanced with more, happier, more upbeat tracks and things. And I really tried new ideas, and I took these tracks kind of as far as I could take them, and I learned quite a bit, how to limit the number of layers, instead of just having so many that it sounds like a convoluted mess, I try to limit them, turn these 3 on, but turn these 4 on, or turn these 4 off, and bring them in just when you need to, yeah, there's still a lot for me to work on, and I did, since the making of this video, I've already completed 318 and 319. So that's about it for this album. I'm very pleased with it, though. It's the same kind of thing, when you hear clips of it, you don't get the full effect of the album, And in fact, I believe, I could be wrong, but maybe it's not that way for everyone, but I believe, music should be listened to album-wise, you can't just pluck something out of context, pluck one track, oh, I love this track, but I don't like the rest of the album, type of thing. To me, an album should convey a theme, how it develops from track to track, and those kinds of things. And, my particular albums, the thing that doesn't come across is that they are very smooth to listen to from beginning track to the 7th track, If you were to put it in your car and drive, chances are you wouldn't even realize, that you've been going through track by track by track. It's just a very smooth, constant thing. At least that's been my experience on there. Okay. And, I don't even think you can call yourself a musical artist, a real, true artist, unless you've suffered for your art by doing a video without the air conditioning on. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Just kidding. Alright, hopefully it'll cool off here. I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while, so there we go. And happy July 4th to everyone, of course. Alright, and I'll see you next time, hopefully with volume 318, I guess. But yeah, I'm very pleased with this album, and I think, the musical ideas I came up with, and also some ideas guitar-wise, I do think I need to balance the Yamaha guitar because it's so new to me, a little bit better, because sometimes it's so big that it's overwhelming the rest of the tracks. Not all the time, but sometimes. But here, yeah, I limited a lot of the layers, so there you go. Alright, now I can turn my air conditioning back on. This is a little window air conditioner anyway, it doesn't do much. Okay, see you next time. Bye.